Is drinking alcohol really a sin? Why is eating pork forbidden in some religions, but completely acceptable in others? And what about adultery? Is it universally condemned? Or do different sacred texts approach it differently? Today we're diving deep into these questions by comparing the prohibitions found in two of the world's major holy books, the Quran and the Bible. Right from the start, it's clear that both texts shape millions of lives with rules and guidelines that often overlap, but sometimes diverge quite dramatically. So how similar are the restrictions? And what do those similarities and differences tell us about faith, culture, and interpretation? Let's begin with the topic of pork. In the Quran, pork is explicitly prohibited. It is described as impure, unclean, and believers are instructed to avoid consuming it entirely. This prohibition isn't just a casual suggestion. It's a firm commandment repeated several times throughout the text. The reasoning includes spiritual cleanliness and physical health, reinforcing a strict dietary law that Muslims follow worldwide to this day. When we look at the Bible, things take a more complex turn. The Old Testament, especially the books of Leviticus and Deuteronomy, clearly forbids eating pork as part of the Mosaic law for the Israelites. Pork is considered unclean, and consuming it would be against God's commands. However, the New Testament brings a significant shift. In Acts 10, Peter receives a vision where he's told not to call any food impure or unclean. Paul's letters further support this, teaching that Christians are no longer bound by the dietary restrictions of the Old Testament. This means that most Christian denominations consider eating pork acceptable, a clear departure from the earlier laws. So why this difference? For Muslims, the Quran's dietary laws remain unaltered and form a vital part of religious identity and practice. In Christianity, the coming of Jesus is seen as fulfilling and transforming old laws, ushering in a new covenant where many traditional restrictions are relaxed. This theological shift explains why Christians generally don't see pork as forbidden, while Muslims hold firm to its prohibition. Next up is alcohol. The Quran takes a very clear stance. Intoxicants are prohibited because they lead to harm, impair judgment, and interfere with worship. Verses in the Quran warn that alcohol is the work of Satan, meant to sow discord and keep people from prayer. This prohibition is quite absolute in most Muslim communities, where alcohol consumption is either forbidden or strongly discouraged. In contrast, the Bible's message about alcohol is far more nuanced. Wine and other alcoholic beverages appear frequently, sometimes even positively. Jesus' miracle of turning water into wine at the wedding at Cana is a famous example. And Paul advises Timothy to take a little wine for his stomach's sake. Yet the Bible also warns about excessive drinking and drunkenness, associating it with moral failure and loss of self-control. The overall message tends to promote moderation rather than outright prohibition, which is why many Christian communities accept responsible drinking as part of cultural life. Now, let's talk about adultery, a serious moral issue in both texts. The Ten Commandments in the Bible plainly state, "You shall not commit adultery," emphasizing faithfulness in marriage. The Quran also explicitly forbids adultery and prescribes strict consequences to protect social order and family integrity. But there's a difference in how these two traditions handle forgiveness. In the Bible, Jesus' teachings focus heavily on mercy and redemption. The story of the woman caught in adultery, where Jesus says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone," highlights compassion alongside moral expectations. The Quran, while strongly condemning adultery, also emphasizes God's mercy and forgiveness for those who sincerely repent. Both texts uphold marriage fidelity as crucial, but each balances justice and mercy in its own way. Beyond these three, other prohibitions show similar variations. Gambling and charting interest, for example, are clearly forbidden in the Quran, while the Bible's stance is less explicit and often depends on interpretation within different Christian traditions. Understanding these differences requires us to consider historical and cultural contexts. The Quran was revealed in 7th century Arabia, providing a legal and moral framework for a rapidly growing Muslim community. The Bible, by contrast, is a compilation of texts written over centuries, reflecting a range of cultures, histories, and theological evolutions. These factors explain why Muslim societies often enforce strict rules on diet and behavior, whereas many Christian communities adopt a more flexible or individualized approach. Both faiths aim to guide their followers toward ethical living, but their methods reflect distinct theological understandings and historical realities. So, what does this mean for us today? Recognizing these differences helps promote tolerance and respect. It reminds us that religious laws are not always identical, but are shaped by time, place, and interpretation. They offer guidance, but also reflect the diversity of human experience. What's your take? Do you believe divine laws evolve with time? Or do you think interpretations are the key to understanding these differences? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed this exploration, please like and subscribe for more in-depth discussions on religion and spirituality. Thank you for watching. Remember, curiosity and respect are the best tools for building bridges across faiths. See you in the next video.